Good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for coming to this very important meeting of the City Council as we do the people's work. Council members, if you would at this time, please stand for the invocation which will be given by Councilman Dr. Bishop Curtis Edmonds, and then please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Bishop.
Gracious God, we thank you for the day. We thank you for our meeting that we shall have. We thank you for our new city council. We thank you, Lord, for our city manager. We thank you for those that serve well, those that do what they need to do. Now bless us as we go forth with the business of our city, that we might be clear in our thinking and straightforward in our talk. We give you praise, glory, and honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dr. Edmonds. Members of the City Council, please indicate your presence electronically. Madam Clerk.
6 members of the City Council are present.
Members of the City Council, you have before your consideration the minutes of a call meeting on August 25th, 2015, and a regular meeting on August 25th, 2015. Are there any corrections to the minutes?
Second.
Mayor, we have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. The minutes are adopted 6-0.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Before we get into the, or I turn it over to the clerk, I want to tell everyone how great it is to see you all here today. What a great day this has been. This is our first day back to school. We have had a lot of excitement throughout our district. I thought I saw a superintendent. Is he still here? Dr. Bracy just left this morning about 7:30 over at Craddock Middle School. There was about 150 gentlemen, 181 professional men standing outside the school congratulating each one of the kids as they entered the building. I was honored to visit Grove Baptist Church a week ago, I believe, or 2 weeks ago, when the pastor asked all the men of the church if they would do that, and it was a sight to see. I happened to be there. I think Miss Sarah Duncan Hines was there from the school board, as well as Councilman Cherry, and we all agreed that we would be there as well. So this morning it was quite a sight, and so we're excited for our kids. We hope they're all excited, and we also attended Dr. Edmonds, myself, Mr. Moody, the roundup, as I called it, with the school system. I think that was last week over at Willard Hall, where all of the employees, teachers, administrators, custodians, bus drivers were all there, and it was quite an event. We used to have it years ago. I think we haven't had it in the last 7 or 8 years, but I was pleased to speak, as well as some of our other folks there, and it was great to see everybody revved up and ready to go. So let's wish all of our kids and our administrators and teachers all nothing but the very best this year. And with that, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, City Council rules require a limit of up to 3 minutes to speak. As you approach the speaker's podium, you will notice a timer. At the beginning of your 3 minutes, you will see a green light. 2 minutes into your remarks, you will notice a yellow light. At the end of 3 minutes, you will see a red light, hear a beep, and we ask that you conclude your comments at that time. While speakers have an opportunity to address council on matters of public concern, all comments should be made in a manner that respects the seriousness of the forum and should not be made in a belligerent, sarcastic, or demeaning fashion. A speaker who fails to observe this basic rule of decorum will be deemed out of order and not allowed to conclude his or her comments. Public hearing, 15-322. Public hearing on use permit application, UP 1509. Port Norfolk, Stephen Romaine, of the law firm LeClaire Ryan on behalf of ESJ Asset Management and Investment Company, requests a use permit to expand the existing fuel operation facility for a 7-Eleven at 700 Mount Vernon Avenue. The property is zoned General Mixed Use, GMU, and is designated as part of the mixed-use corridor on the Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map. Vision Principle, a robust economy for working men and women. Electronic roll call, and I have speakers.
Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, my name is John Hartley, Planning Administrator with the City Planning Department. The one item that you have from the Planning Department tonight for public hearing is a request for a use permit for 7-Eleven. This is an existing facility. It was built around 1982. What they're proposing at this point is to remove the canopy and gas pumps and install a new canopy and enlarge or increase the number of pumps that they will have at the site. On the right is the zoning map. Most of the area is zoned GMU. To the south, it's entirely industrial. And to the left is a picture of the property. It's located on the southwest corner of Hartford Street and Mount Vernon Avenue in the Port Norfolk neighborhood. And is surrounded essentially by businesses that have been long established. This is a manufacturer of fasteners to the north. To the east is a training and employment facility that works closely with the shipyard.
Not working tonight, huh?
Technical difficulties. There we go. To the south is an electrical contractor's office, and you see the electrical substation right next to that. And then across to the west is a vacant lot and Sonny's Pub and Grill. As I indicated, the gas station was built, the convenience store was built in 1982. What they're proposing to do is take out the existing canopy and tanks and install a new canopy, expanding the number of pumps essentially from 2 to 4, so they can serve 8 rather than 4 vehicles, and install new tanks. There will be no work done on the existing building, and the entrances will essentially remain where they are. And this is now it wants to jump when I don't want it to jump. The building is in green at the top. The canopy is in the yellowish color, and then the tanks that will be replaced is in the red color on the screen here. It's a fairly straightforward application. You have a number of conditions in your packet. Most of those are related to what the ordinance requirements would be anyways, but just want to restate those and make sure that they're a part of the conditions of approval. With that, the Planning Commission considered this item at their meeting in August and recommended approval 4-0. And with that, I'll conclude my comments and try to answer any questions. I will let you know that Gene Mumm is here on behalf of Mr. Romaine, who had a number of other applications that he's dealing with in other jurisdictions. Also here is Gary Frank with Blakeway, who is the engineering firm that's working with 7-Eleven.
Okay.
And with that, I'll try to answer any questions that you may have.
Do they plan to stay open while they're converting, or they're going to shut down, or do you know?
And I'm not sure what the answer to that is.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Cherry?
There weren't no comments from the community, was there?
no, there were
I know
no.
there weren't any at the planning commission meeting, but was there any, since the planning commission meeting, hadn't there been any?
No.
Okay.
We have not received any comments, pro or con.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Council members, Mr. Franks is available if you have questions. At this time, we'll call forward Gene Mumm.
Good evening, Mayor Wright and members of City Council. For the record, my name is Jean Mumm. I'm a local attorney with an address of 999 Waterside Drive in Norfolk. As was mentioned, Gary Franks is also here with Blakeway. He's the project engineer. And I'm just here this evening to request that you approve the application that's been filed. And we'd like to thank the planning staff for working with us on this application and for their presentation. I don't intend to repeat the presentation. The proposed work is part of the 7-Eleven's fuel maintenance program. It will provide more fueling stations to the neighborhood. It will upgrade what's there already and will give a needed facelift to the corridor and is a significant investment in the area. The conditions are acceptable to the applicant, and we want to thank you for your consideration of the application and request that you approve it, and I'll stand by for any further questions, as will Mr. Frank.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Mumm.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public hearing on item UP 1509. At this time, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak but did not have an opportunity to register, please come forward, give your name and address, and you will have up to 3 minutes to speak on item UP 1509. Members of City Council, this public hearing is closed.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. This item is approved 6-0. Unfinished business, 15-307, comprehensive plan, resolution granting the request of the City of Portsmouth, approving a floodplain management plan that provides guidance for managing and reducing flood hazards and outlines strategies for flood prevention for the coming years. The plan identifies flooding issues and makes recommendations to assist in determining at-risk status, reducing flood damage, and reducing recovery time after a flooding event. CP 1501, first reading vote 7-0 approved. Vision principles, neighborhoods, and sense of community and quality of life. Electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Okay. Motion.
We have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. This item is adopted 7-0.
6.
Excuse me, 6-0. Good number. City Manager's Report 15-323, adoption of an ordinance accepting a grant in the amount of $750 from Keep Virginia Beautiful and appropriating said funds in the FY 2015-16 Waste Management Fund for the purpose of purchasing and installing recycling containers at Intellos Pavilion. Vision principle, efficient responsive government, electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. This item is adopted 6-0. 15-324, adoption of an ordinance accepting a grant in the amount of $5,073 from the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Services and appropriating said funds in the FY 2015-16 Grants Fund to provide funding to operate local probation and pretrial services in the city of Portsmouth. Vision principle, neighborhoods, and sense of community, electronic roll call, and I have no registered speakers.
Adoption.
We have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. This item is adopted 6-0. 15-325, I'm going to read the item, but members of City Council, this item is requested for withdrawal by the management team. And just for the record, it was for an adoption of a resolution in support of a House Bill 2 application for the Virginia International Gateway on Dock Rail Expansion Project. And again, this item is requested by management for withdrawal, and I believe that Dr. Patton has some comments in reference to the request for withdrawal.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor, members of council, today at about 1:30 p.m., we received a letter from the Secretary of Transportation, Lane, who has requested that the HRTPO not submit the HBIL 2 application for the Port, CWRY, City of Norfolk, and the City of Portsmouth Utility Relocation Project. The Port of the Commonwealth Railroad projects will be funded under their current REF grant. The relocation of utilities is not covered under the current grant. The port may soon have another source of funding available for their project. If that materializes favorably, then the DRPT will work with the Commonwealth Railroad to update the REF project costs, possibly include a portion of the utility costs. The next REF application process starts December 1, 2015, with applications due by February 1st, 2016. At this time, the city should plan on funding the relocation of their water lines in full.
Wow.
Members of council, we're in need of a motion and a second to accept the withdrawal by management.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically. I'm sorry. This item has been accepted for withdrawal by a vote of 6-0.
Let me just ask the manager if you would get me a copy of that.
Yes, we'll
Tonight.
get you a copy of the memo.
All right, thank you. All right, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. New business, 15-326, boards and commissions. Councilman Edmonds.
Thank you, Mayor and members of City Council. I move the reappointment of the following board and commission members. Portsmouth Redevelopment and Housing Authority, Joe B. Fleming. Southeaster Alcohol Safety Action Program, Ursula Murphy. And Supplement Retirement Board, David Harrington.
Second.
Members of council, we have a motion and a second, and you will be voting electronically. This item is adopted 6-0. 15-327, item submitted by council members.
Okay, Mr. Chair?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that to add an item to the agenda.
Mayor, we have a motion and a second to add an item to the agenda. You'll be voting electronically.
What?
Okay.
Reset.
It's
Want to
being
do it
reset.
again?
Yes, we're having it reset for you. This item is adopted 5-1.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I'd like to move the proposed amendment to Section 33, closed meetings of the council rules and procedure. I'd like to add item B to that section to read as follows. The confidentiality of matters discussed in closed session should not be violated by any city council member nor anyone else in attendance, e.g. the city manager, the city attorney, city clerk, city assessor, city auditor, and/or their representatives. No audio or visual recording devices shall be permitted to be used in a closed session. Any member or person violating, any council member or person violating the confidentiality of a closed session or using a recording device during a closed session shall be subject to censure, a fine of not less than $1,500, and/or reprimand by the majority vote of the city council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Because we're adding this item to your agenda, we need to allow opportunity for the public to speak.
Okay.
If you want.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. For the record, I'm going to vote no to this item, and I want to tell you why. This item is about me, and I want to tell you what happened. Recently, there was a story in the Virginian Pilot about thoughts by this council about the Confederate monument. That is a topic that has been well documented by the news media, and our citizens are well aware of ongoing questions about the monument staying put or being removed or dismantled or what have you. I got a call from Joanna, our reporter from the Virginian Pilot, a day or two after our last meeting. And she proceeded to ask me how I felt about the council's decision to do this and that and the other thing. And I said, Joanna, I can't talk about that. That was a closed session item. And she proceeded to tell me everything that happened in the meeting and that she was writing the story. And I said, well, if you're going to write the story, then I'm going to give you a comment because I disagree with the action of council. She already had all the information. I don't know where she got it, but she had it all, and it was factual. And so I commented. A similar thing happened today. About 3 o'clock this afternoon, I got a call from a reporter at the Virginian Pilot who said, Ms. Simmons, would you like to give me a comment on tonight's council action to censure you? I said, excuse me? I have no idea what you're talking about. Yes, I understand the council is going to censure you and Mr. Moody. Well, somehow the reporter got hold of that information that I had no idea about till I walked into the meeting tonight. So things get out, things happen, but I think this is a punitive measure that's acting like we're a bunch of 7th graders, and I'll vote no.
All right, thank you. Mr. Moody.
Thank you, Mayor. Do disagree with my colleague. I think it's about her and about me. Unfortunately, you know, I think the punitive measure that this represents just adds further credence that more and more governance in Portsmouth is going behind a veil of let's keep it on the QT, so nobody will voice any support or opposition for it. So let's surprise them. But that's my opinion. Consequently, I will be voting no.
Okay, Dr. Whitaker.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I just want to make sure that the public's aware that it's not about neither of those persons. It is in regards to the integrity of our closed session. And if we're not going to have any integrity in our closed session, then we just make a mockery of it. It is only about them if they feel that way because they violated the closed session policy. And so I think that to maintain the integrity of the meeting, that we do need to hold each other accountable for our conduct within those meetings, particularly when we give misinformation about the meeting.
All right, thank you, Dr. Whitaker. All right, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. We have a speaker that's registered, Mr. Mark Godoldik-Yutrovsky.
I rise to oppose the consideration of this item at this time, not for reasons stated by the members of council who spoke on it. In the first place, when council does this kind of last-minute addition, it is disrespecting the people that they are sworn to serve. This item is not an emergency item. If you all contemplated having a discussion of it, it should have been placed on the docket prior to this meeting. If this is something you've just come to terms about, it should be on the docket for the next meeting, so the public has due notice that it's under consideration. This is not the only time it's happened. This is not the only time I've stood up to object to this kind of issue being put on the docket at the last minute. Secondly, if you're going to make amendments to your rules and procedures about closed meetings, I believe there should be bullets C, D, and E. C should state that at all times when council is in closed session, the city attorney or a substitute city attorney shall be present, so that the public has some assurance that what you are doing behind closed doors is done within a frame of legality. I have seen things occur that I've had questions about, but because of the code of silence that you all wrap around you, and it's not just you, it's every elected body in this Commonwealth, I believe you take liberties with what you state in your opening and what you affirm at the end. So I would add that. Also, I would say that you need a provision that when the confidentiality is no longer essential to the discussion, that there be a record provided to the public of what was discussed. Now, there are some things like ongoing legal cases and personnel matters to which this logically cannot apply. But there are other items in which it's a timing issue in terms of closed meetings. The public at all times has an interest in anything, a legitimate interest in anything council discusses behind closed doors.
Thank you, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, this item has been added to the agenda. It was not on the printed agenda. So at this time, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this specific matter of council rules and procedures, you may come forward, give your name and address, and you will have up to 3 minutes to speak on this specific item. Please note that if you are signed up as a non-agenda speaker, you will relinquish your time to speak as a non-agenda speaker.
Yes, my name's Coleman Young. I live on North Street. I just feel you're rushing to a judgment. I think it's unfair. I mean, the questions that Mark brought up are very legitimate. Why are we rushing to do something that could cause division? I mean, the availability to the public to know what is going on. I think it's unfair. My experience with Mr. Moody and Ms. Persimmons are utmost integrity and devotion and conscientiousness. And I see so quickly, we want to go and censor. We want to find somebody. These are colleagues. These are people that you work together. This is going to be another story in the paper tomorrow that is embarrassing to the city of Portsmouth. I'm getting tired of it. I was planning on, the whole time I've been here in Portsmouth, I pretty much have enjoyed city council. Enjoyed it and appreciate it, but I am worried. I am very worried the direction of the city. I look to y'all for leadership. I don't see leadership. I see divisiveness and hurt. And I'm going to come back because the answer is God. And I'm going to come back and mention it. And it bothers me a whole lot. And I've never been this concerned about it. And I feel like the sunshine to open things up. If there's a problem, let's talk about it. But do not rush to judgment like y'all are doing tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Whitaker.
Yeah, just a point of clarification. No one is being fined or censored tonight. This is just passing a policy so that if it occurs in the future, those particular ramifications will be in place. So I don't want you to misrepresent anything. No one is being fined or censored tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Wood.
Members of council, seeing no one else coming forward, this item is, we have a motion and a second, and you'll be voting electronically.
Okay.
This item is adopted 4-2. Okay. 15, are there any other items submitted by council members?
Let me just say one briefly. Last Sunday, I attended Pine Crest Baptist Church, and as most of you probably know, Pastor Tom Potter has retired. Tom Potter has been in the kingdom building business for over 40 years, and he's been at Pinecrest for the last 28 years. He was also a chaplain here with our police department as well as at Langley Speedway. And I was extremely pleased and gratified with all of the positive comments from his membership and him for the great work that he's done, not only at that church but in our city. So I wanted to publicly thank him for his service. And when you see him, he said he's not going away. So when you see him, please thank him for his 28 years at Pinecrest as well as 40 years in the ministry. With that, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. 15-328, report on pending items, and we have none this evening. 15-329, non-agenda speakers. Our first speaker is Mr. Joe Wright.
Honorable Mayor, council members, and to all others assembled, I only have 3 minutes. About 6 months ago, I told this council that there's a faction on this council that wants to separate the citizens in Portsmouth by race. Seems like I was right. Not only that, Mayor, there's a recall effort out for you, which I think is going to fail. You're not the one they want. You're just the one that's qualified. That's just one aspect of this thing. And just what happened just then, is another shining example. You got council members calling each other's names up here instead of taking care of the city's business. You have one councilman tell another councilman that he's ignorant. The other councilman shoots back and says, you're a cop hater. The citizens are getting tired of this stuff, We make the newspaper front page every day, and it's going to happen again tomorrow. Dr. Patton was a good thing that happened to Portsmouth. She was on page 3. This thing has to change. You even got some citizens out here talking about beheading a police officer. It's just a sickening atmosphere, and the citizens don't like it. I think Dr. Patton will be able to straighten out a lot of this stuff, but there's nothing she can do about this council. So you all going to have to police your own selves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Mr. Randy Bailey.
Yes, you got the misconception that you've gotten rid of me, but actually I was working for the government. I would like to start out tonight, I hope Miss White doesn't go into shock because I'm dressed up, but I attended a funeral for a veteran, member of the 82nd Airborne, World War II, Joseph Myers in Port Norfolk. We buried him this afternoon. He died last week, and the last thing he saw on TV before he passed was that you people are going to go get a judge to tear down a Confederate monument. Now, Joe is very up on veterans things, and he doesn't care about the Confederacy or anything else, but he cares about veterans monuments. President McKinley in the Spanish-American War said that they were American veterans. Eisenhower said it. Congress passed it in 1959, but you want to go after a veterans monument. That's fine. Go ahead and do it. I sent y'all an email. And in it, I purposely misspelled precedent with president to get your attention. And you can ask the city attorney what a precedent is. Because once you go after that monument, you're setting one. And you're giving every hate group in the United States a reason to come into this city and find something that they don't like and file for it. So when the atheists do file and say they want you to remove anything religious in public view, you're setting a precedent for them to do that. If you remove one veterans monument in this city, then you have to remove everyone in the state because you can't discriminate against one. If you remove them all in this state, guess what's in this state? Arlington National Cemetery. Are you going to go up to Kennedy's grave and pull his monument out? You can only go so far with some things. I agree with the Confederate flag. Maybe it should not be flown because of what people perceive it to be, but that monument is a tombstone. Leave the tombstone alone. I have spoken to many, many, many people, black and white, and they have no comment on that piece of granite because they really don't care. And when you people start voting in secret to do things, that tells me a lot about government. I've been in government for over 40 years. I can tell you all about secrets. My service record is pretty much blackened out except for my name, my rank, and my serial number because of secrets. You can't deal like this with the city. The people have to know what you're doing, and you have to do it together. I was extremely surprised about some of the stuff that was done. I was even more surprised at you, Cherry.
Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Mr. Cherry?
I want to ask Mr. Bella, were you talking about the article that appeared after our last meeting in the paper? About the
Yes.
money? Okay, first of all, that was, okay.
Closed session.
Yeah. Mayor, can I get a consensus to clear up that article? Because it was a fabrication.
It was a fabrication. We discussed that in closed session, and I think if you attempt to do that, you're going to bleed into the area of discussing closed session items. I would not, other than to say what you read was not true, and I think it's been stated by several members.
Was totally not true.
Okay, but the thing is the people don't understand that clarification.
Understand.
Because they're going to believe what they read, what they saw, and what was on TV.
And that's why they did it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good night, Mr. Bailey. Thank you.
But as a veteran, I figured, you would go a different route. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Ms. Ursula Murphy.
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of council, Ursula Murphy. I live right here in the city of Portsmouth. Short and sweet. I've got 3 questions I'd hopefully like to get some answers to at some point in the future. Can somebody please give the city and me an answer on, or an update on the Craddock High School site? What's going on out there? It's been under construction for 3 years. It looks terrible. The grass is unbelievably deep out there. It needs to be cut. The status on the jail survey that you guys did a couple of years ago, where are we on that? And lastly, have we moved into the new behavioral health building yet? People move in, they move out, they move in, they move out. Are we occupying that property yet? That's it. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. And we would actually get someone to get you those answers, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about a couple of these items here in the near future. But thank you very much for your questions.
Mr. Steve Carroll.
My comments are derived from the FBI's Unified Crime Report. Portsmouth crime statistics 2015-2014 through July. Homicide up 57%, robbery up 17%, aggravated assault up 7%. More significant, in the 3 months, May, June, and July, following the firing of our former city manager and city attorney, 2015 versus 2014, homicide up 500%, robbery up 69%. January is a traditionally cold, lower crime month, and the month Councilman Whitaker was sworn in and began his anti-law enforcement campaign. 2015 versus 2014, aggravated assault up 75%, burglary up 21%, larceny up 15%, motor vehicle theft up 170%. I have here what appears to be a recent social media post directed to a particular segment of the Portsmouth population and against a Portsmouth police officer. It reads in part, "We need to come together and decapitate this racist devil." Whoever made this post is obviously a troubled individual, a sociopath, and is empowered by the same kind of anti-law, race-baiting rhetoric used by Councilman Whitaker and tolerated by several members of the City Council. Several members of council have repeatedly demonstrated their contempt for law enforcement in general and for our former police chief and sheriff in particular. So reckless is this rhetoric and anti-law attitude that has recently emboldened a mugger to attack a city employee in our garage below this facility. Never in my years as a Portsmouth resident would I ever think to see that this city is so gripped in chaos and anarchy as it is today. I refuse to stand silently and watch a handful of councilmen hand this city over to murderers, drug dealers, rapists, and thugs. One in particular who is content to destroy this city that I've called home for 59 years just so he can satiate his own prejudices and his own hypocrisy. To those in the audience tonight, will you join me in denouncing the crime in our city and stand in support of our police and our sheriff's departments? I don't thank you. The sheriff and the police department thank you. And you can corroborate or you can disprove these facts. And welcome, Ms. Patton. We've had some interesting conversations. I think we're going to have some more. And I'm glad
Good night,
to see
Mr.
you
Carroll.
back.
Thank you.
Miss Erica Oliver? Edrica Oliver?
Edrica.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor, Dr. Patton. I'm gonna try to be brief as quick as I can. I'm coming here representing a nonprofit that I organized about 4 or 5 years ago, and it's called Our Choate Society. And the acronym Choate, which was my father's last name, I've changed into an acronym meaning children have other alternatives than extinction. And just piggybacking a little off the last speaker, what I'm bringing to the agenda today is a preventative measure, but it's not necessarily about crime as much as child seat safety. I'm pretty sure everybody here heard about the recent tragedy of the 2 children who lost their lives on 264 yesterday because they were unrestrained. And what I'm asking the city to do is join me in creating more awareness by declaring September 13th through 19th, Portsmouth Child Passenger Safety Week. This would be in conjunction with the National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration. It's a week that they do every time, and it culminates on that Saturday, which is National Seat Check Saturday. When the idea first came to me today to bring this to the city, I started looking for venues and a place to host a seatbelt checking station. I had also gotten approval from Norcom, but I found out that someone I grew up in my church with, who's on the crime prevention team in Portsmouth, is also already doing an event of that magnitude at Kroger on the 19th. So I've decided to help them promote that event, but I would ask the city if they would declare that week National Child Safety Week. And I have a sample proclamation that I pulled off the NHTSA site, and I'm gonna try to read it as quick as this timer's going. And it says, children are our future. Protecting them is the responsibility of all community members. Unfortunately, car crashes are the leading cause of death for children. On average, nearly 2 children under 13 were killed and over 345 were injured every day in 2013. We just had that happen in our city yesterday. While riding in cars, SUVs, pickups, and vans. It's hard to overstate the toll this takes on families, but we can help put an end to this tragedy by taking some important steps. And it continues on for a few more paragraphs. I emailed this to your office, and basically that's all I'm asking the city today.
All right, we'll be getting back with you. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Good night.
Thank you.
Our final speaker is Ms. Donna Sy.
Good evening. My name is Donna Sy, and I live in the Woodbine Farms neighborhood. Principles of Liberty 14. Life and liberty are secure only so long as the right of property is secure. It is not the right of property which is protected, but the right to property. Property per se has no rights, but the individual, the man, has three great rights, equally sacred from willful opposition: the right to his life, the right to his liberty, the right to his property. The three rights are so bound together as to be essentially one right. To give a man his life but deny him his liberty is to take from him all that makes his life worth living. To give him his liberty but take from him the property which is the fruit and badge of his liberty is to still leave him a slave. Lincoln once said, "Property is the fruit of labor. Property is desirable. It is a positive good in the world. That some should be rich shows that others may become rich, and hence is just encouragement to industry and enterprise. Let not him who is houseless pull down the house of another, but let him work diligently to build one for himself, thus by example assuring that his own shall be safe from violence." The primary purpose of government is to protect property. Property and property rights was a critical issue leading to the Revolutionary War. The effort of the Crown of England to take the colonists' property through various kinds of taxation without their consent was denounced as a violation of the English Constitution and English common laws. John Locke said, "The supreme power called government cannot take from any man any part of his property without his own consent." The supreme power called government of Portsmouth wants to do exactly that, take the citizens' property without their consent. The supreme power says the property is a symbol of hate. They don't know that the property is not a symbol of hate, but people are by their actions. President Johnson made this proclamation on September the 7th, 1867. I, Andrew Johnson, President of the United States, do hereby declare that the full pardon shall henceforth be extended to all persons who directly or indirectly participated in the late rebellion with the restoration of privileges, immunities, and rights of property, except as to property with regards to slave. Every person shall seek to avail himself of this proclamation shall take and subscribe the following oath. I do swear in the presence of Almighty God that I will henceforth faithfully support, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Union of the States thereunder, and that I will in like manner abide by and faithfully support all laws and proclamations which have been made during the late rebellion with reference to the emancipation of slaves, so help me God. So now, 148 years later, legislators of Portsmouth have failed to stand up for the righteousness of God, and shame on you.
Thank you, Ms. Sy. Good night.
Members of council, there are no additional speakers.
All right, let me just, before we close, I got two quick announcements. Monday, September the 14th, we have our community meeting at 7 o'clock, IC Norcom High School. We're encouraging all of our citizens to come out. Hopefully you have listened to our previous work sessions and the discussions that are going on about these community meetings. At the last one, we had a in-depth conversation on whether or not they were even needed to be scheduled or whether we schedule them on an as-needed basis because of the lack of participation. So please come out Monday, September the 14th at 7 o'clock at IC Norcom High School. And another note, on Tuesday, September the 15th, we will have a special call meeting. We will be interviewing candidates for the office of city attorney. And that notice will be coming out probably tomorrow or the following day. Yeah. But just for the record and for any of you planning to be in attendance. And with that, we are adjourned.